Good morning and welcome to each of you this morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And to begin, I'd like to make you aware that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. So I'd be looking for approval of the agenda. Councillor Dietrich, Councillor Anderson would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I would like to declare an interest in agenda item 11 sub 3 and the bylaws. And the nature of my interest is my daughter is employed with BM Ross and Associates Limited. Thank you.
That's duly noted. And we're up for the minutes of our previous meeting. Is there any errors or omissions? And if not, I'd be looking for someone to adopt. Councillor Basnet would adopt the minutes and Councillor McClellan would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Under delegations, petitions, and presentations, I have something very special to announce this morning. So I'm going to begin by saying I'd like to take a moment today to recognize the retirement of someone who has been a constant, reliable presence in this community for more than 4 decades. Bob Montgomery has been a familiar face and voice for the residents of Huron County. His reporting has helped connect us, inform us, and sometimes, Bob, even hold us to account. For over 40 years, Bob has attended countless council meetings, not because he had to, but because he believed in the importance of keeping the public informed. And he did it with professionalism, fairness, and an unwavering commitment to the truth. Bob has always had a gift for cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of a story. Whether he was covering municipal budgets or local events, he treated every story and every subject with respect. That's a rare quality and one that will be missed. And Bob, just on a personal note, I know our first interview, you made me feel at ease and said, don't worry, because if I make you look good, you make me look good. So Bob is just that kind of guy. He made it easy for you when you did an interview. So Bob, on behalf of Huron County and the entire community, we want to thank you for your dedication, your integrity, and your enduring belief in the role of local journalism. And we wish you all the best in your retirement. We know that you've certainly earned it. So Bob, congratulations on 40 years. So Bob, after 40 years, I'm sure you've got something you want to add. So come up to the podium and do that.
Thank you. I was a little bit worried when you said I had constantly, and I thought you were going to say being a pain in the neck, but I'm glad you didn't say that. But I just wanted to say for most of us throughout our lives, there are a few decisions we make that are just really critical and you just know it's the right thing to do at the right time and there's no discussion. Well, that was my decision to get into Conestoga College, to get into broadcasting. The other really big thing was pure luck. Out of college, I landed a job with CKNX in Wingham. I had never heard of CKNX, never heard of Wingham, and didn't really know where Huron County was. And it was the best thing I ever did. I have had nothing but fun here. This is a perfect example of what life in Huron County is like. And I realized very quickly, I should have been a country boy all my life. And it's just worked out great. Thank you, all of you.
So we have a certificate of appreciation for Bob Montgomery, and we're asking the past wardens to come in front of the podium as well to be recognized with Bob, because let me tell you, there are many days when you get a phone call from Bob and you need to respond in a timely manner. And Bob was patient with us. And as Warden Heffer indicated, he was always fair. And just thank you so much for sharing your passion with Huron County, with everyone in the community, Bob. Truly. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just been a real good time. The whole.
So if I can have,
Megan, if I could add something to that, one thing Bob had terrible timing with, I'd always be ready to hit the ball and he would phone. And he did that over and over. I got him back. I went and played a round of golf with Bob one day. I made sure I answered every phone call during that round.
You know what I heard? I saw a sign the other day in Blythe. It said, golf is just an adult's version of an Easter egg hunt. I'm sure it was a golfer that said that.
thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Bob.
Yep. Thanks very much.
Bob, just before you go, Bob, if I could, and Warden Heffer commented very accurately, becoming warden, everything's new. And Bob, I know for myself, and I'm sure the other wardens, made us feel so comfortable. And I learned many years ago, media can be your foe or your friend, and they can make you look really good. And I know you have done that for all of us, Bob. And on behalf of us as past wardens, thank you very much for everything you've done for the public and for Huron County.
Well, thank you very much, but it goes both ways. You guys have just made it fun for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
So up next on our agenda is the local impact briefing, and Colin Carmichael, the Executive Director of Huron Chamber of Commerce, is joining us. And welcome, Colin, and we'll turn some time over to you.
Perfect. Good morning. Thank you, Warden Heffer and members of council, for giving us some time this morning to talk to you about an issue that's quite important for a number of our businesses across the county. And so we just appreciate the opportunity to do that. My name is Colin Carmichael. I'm the Executive Director of the Huron Chamber of Commerce. And this delegation is an excellent example of the Chamber's role as a convener. One of the things I often say is that my job is to get the right people in the right room to talk about the issues that affect, in particular, the business community in Huron County. And so the local impact briefing that we held in March and this delegation today are two examples of how the Chamber can be that bridge between the business community and the political arena and the other arenas in our county. So I'll be joined today by Dan Moynihan. He's the owner of several Tim Hortons franchises here in the county, and we're joined also by several other employers in Huron County. I want to reiterate off the top that this is an issue that doesn't just affect the people in this room. It affects literally hundreds of businesses in every community in Huron County. So we can move to the next slide. Actually, we can go to the next slide as well. Thank you. So why we're here today, what we want to do is share with council the local impacts of an issue that is not a municipal issue. It's not even a provincial issue. It's really a federal issue, and that's immigration. And so the federal government has the jurisdiction over immigration, but there are local impacts. And again, that's one of the things that at the Chamber we want to be able to localize those issues and decisions that happen outside of Huron County and highlight the local impacts of those. And so there were decisions made by the federal government through 2024, and we'll get to that in a second. But they present a risk to our businesses here in Huron County, and we thought it was important that the folks at this table understand those impacts and understand how our communities will be impacted. We will also be seeking council's support in our advocacy efforts around this issue. Important to note, I'm not asking for money today. So that's, I know you guys are always glad when we're not asking for any funding. Next slide, please. So just to put this in the context of immigration, immigration, of course, policy is a very complex policy area. And we do not, attempt here to cover all of that or even most of that. We're talking about a very narrow piece of the immigration puzzle, but that has a fairly broad impact in our communities and in our businesses across Huron County. And I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the work of the Immigration Partnership that's part of the County of Huron and Director Lass's department, and they do lots of really important work within the current framework of immigration in Huron County. This advocacy work that we're doing today is not in their mandate, and so this is really where the chamber steps in and can provide that bridge. Next slide, please. I know you're all very good at reading the materials ahead of time, so I'm not going to go through every detail on every slide here because I know you've had an opportunity to read ahead. So just to note that these changes that happened in 2024 were largely politically motivated. They were in response to public opinion, their response to concerns around housing, post-secondary education, a few other things. And so they were changes that were made in response to political concerns. And what's happened is that the folks in the room today, these business owners were kind of caught in the crossfire. There were exemptions made for areas like healthcare, agriculture, both of those very important to Huron County, and we're glad that those sectors were exempted from some of these new restrictions. But our hospitality industry, who also depends on this international talent, did not enjoy those exemptions, and they will be impacted. Next slide. This will not be news to anyone in the room, but I just wanted to point out that Huron County does have a unique labor market. Huron County and the other three kind of counties in our economic zone have had basically the lowest unemployment in the province for a number of years now, and if not the lowest, among the lowest. And so that puts additional pressures on our business community that don't exist elsewhere in the province. Next slide. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and he's going to just highlight some of the actual impacts, what they're seeing on the ground, what their employees are experiencing through these changes, and what they expect to see in the next few months. I'm not the subject matter expert here. These folks are. They live it every day. And so I will turn the microphone over to Dan.
Thank you, Warden Heffer, and everyone for welcoming us today. Our experience locally has been whenever the county has become aware of issues impacting us, they've been super responsive, and we've worked together well over the last couple of years on local elements. This one, as Colin's saying, is a bit new with all of the changes that have happened. And I think a couple things to reinforce for all of us is that we've tried to prioritize wherever possible local hiring. When a local resume comes in, we give that primary attention, and often the response times are within hours in order to invite that individual in for an interview and welcome them in. In a comparison, a colleague in Kitchener-Waterloo advertised 3 full-time positions, and they received 754 applications for those 3 full-time positions. Last year, we didn't receive 50 applications locally, and walking through 25 of those resumes, we couldn't really get through due to the quality of them. We partner with different local programs like Reach for Success for reintegration and helping those get a fresh start. And wherever possible, we do that. And you'll see some notations around the wage. Often we're not talking about minimum wage positions in our places. We're talking about significantly more than that, significant percentage more than minimum wage that these people are able to make. And so we've had to turn, in order to sustain and maintain our businesses, to international talent. Sometimes it's under the umbrella of a temporary foreign worker program. And yes, that is one avenue, but there are many avenues that international talent come to us, and we try to work with each of them. You've seen in the deck kind of three situations. They're just kind of highlights of many difficult situations. We have a husband and a wife team that work for us. Have been with us for a couple of years. They were invited to send in their documentation, invited to permanent residency in Canada. They had done that. They had reached the points, sent it in, and then they received a response that they were no longer welcome, and they've had to change their path yet again. Just this week, we received a note from another couple that works for us. Because of the changes in the federal programs and the points that are available in different sectors, they're leaving our business to go to another center to find a very small path that they might be able to gain their permanent residency. So we really appreciate the pre-meeting that happened in March, and the impact is quite significant. It's not over dramatic to state that if we cannot help those that are already with us stay, we're not asking for more international talent. We just like to be able to maintain those that we've invested in, that are integrated in the communities, paying taxes. And we've talked, I think on that Zoom call in March, like our payroll in the county is 1.7 million. We heard other numbers from other businesses and whatnot. These are individuals, their kids are in our schools, they're volunteering, they're participating in our local churches. We just want to be able to keep who we have, and your partnership and help and advocacy for that would be very much appreciated. And I know that at the end, there'll be a chance for questions, and any of us here will be happy to take those. So thank you for your time.
So I'm suddenly short on time. 10 minutes goes by in a hurry. So if we could skip ahead to slide 11. And I just want to talk about the two programs that are available. One's a federal program. Given the federal election and other factors, it's not really, sorry, one more slide, I think. That's the one. So that RSIP program, not really feasible for us to expect any changes to that, at least until the next government is in place and that. Where there is an opportunity is this provincial program, the Rural Economic Development through Immigration Pilot. It's a provincial program within the federal immigration framework, and it is currently running in 4 communities across Ontario. Huron County obviously is not one of them, and we would like it to be. It also currently will end at the end of 2025. And so we have, the Chamber has already asked Minister Lisa Thompson and Minister Dave Piccini to expand and extend this program so that Huron County has an opportunity to participate and that it goes beyond the end of this year, because by the time, we make investments in folks, it 6 months is not enough. So that's what we're working on as a kind of a practical approach to addressing the issues that Dan raised. So we will skip then ahead to the final slide, which is the ask and why we're here today. So what we're hoping is that Warden Hepper and members of council would be willing to support our request of the Ontario government to expand and extend that READY program, the Rural Economic Development through Immigration program, through a letter from council to the minister or to the Ontario government, or any other method that council deems would be appropriate and effective. And then also to bring this issue to the West Ontario Wardens Caucus and potentially other bodies that the county participates in, who would also be affected by these changes and may be interested in supporting the advocacy that we have initiated here in Huron County. So Clerk Cronin was kind enough not to cut me off there. So I will then, if any councillors have questions for myself or the employers that are in the room, happy to answer those.
So thank you, Colin and Dan, for the presentation and the information. And I do see right off the bat, Councillor Bazinet has a question.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. Thank you to Colin and Dan and everyone behind me that's looking at the back of my head right now. This is an important discussion to have, and I'm glad you're able to come to County Council and do the delegation, as our meeting in March, provided us a lot of information from the businesses that maybe some of us were unaware of as well. So it's good to have those conversations. I know there's probably questions and comments, but I would like to make a motion to support County Council sending a letter to Minister Thompson and ask for an extension of the READY program.
May I suggest, Councillor Bazinet, that before we would jump that far ahead, we'd maybe get a staff report to come back, and that be our first step?
That's fine as well. As long as we move something forward here in regards to this, I'm okay with that. Thank you.
So I think that would be a better first step for us if someone would be inclined to do that. Councillor Dietrich? Okay, so that motion then to look for a staff report coming back and seconded by Past Warden McNeil. So we'll deal with the motion. Any further comments on that motion? Councillor Past Warden McLeod?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I think there needs to be more messaging out to the general public. The story that you told about getting in all those applications, and you've gone through the first 25 and they weren't even adequate, even though you were looking at local residents. The unfortunate part is that, as true as those statements may be, the general public doesn't look at it that way. They only hear one side of the story, where Johnny went to get a job and he got turned down and somebody else got it and they're upset. And then that's the word that gets through the community. And that is the part that needs to change. It's one thing if you can share those stories with upper levels of government to put your statement forward, but the general public needs to be aware of that also, is that we just don't have the talent here that we need to do the job. No matter what the job is, we still want to hire qualified people to do that work. And if you're not finding them, then we need another avenue. So that needs to be shared with the general public overall.
Okay, Councillor Finch has a comment.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, we have to understand too, our population, for instance, in South Huron, I keep telling people the average age is 50 years of age. Our population in the high school from grade 9 to 12 went from 996 students in 1996, I believe it was, to half of what it is. So we're not creating enough people to fill these jobs and these opportunities. That's why we have temporary farm workers now. I think what Colin's brought forward and these great business leaders behind us, they're representing the greater population already. So we need to get behind this and support this through a staff report, of course, to be realistic. But the realities of today's business, this is what they're facing. So we need to be proactive on this. $1.7 million in payroll. That's pretty impressive. But the fact is, in Kitchener-Waterloo, it's a different population. You've got young people at the different colleges that are attending there, different immigration policies, there are different reasons for people to immigrate there and migrate there. We're here in county. We deal with what we have in front of us. And the fact of the matter is, we need to support what they're advocating for. So I'll be fully behind moving this forward with the staff report, and after that, supporting again.
All right, any other comments? Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, I'm fine with the staff report. I just request that it be brought in the next two meetings, because the FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference, it's the end of May. I would like to have that information. I am registered for that conference. I'd like to have that information in case the opportunity pops up to talk to a federal minister about this issue.
All right. Past Warden McNeil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And I would like to compliment Colin for bringing this forward and the collaboration of all the business owners. This is very impressive when there is a common issue and everyone is together in an attempt to move this forward. And thank you for this and bringing it to Huron County Council for our awareness, because I'm possibly not everyone is aware of the challenges that the business owners are facing, and we all benefit from addressing this. So thank you very much, Mr. Ward.
Okay, thank you.
And just quickly in response to that, it was Dan Moynihan that brought this to me initially, and because I was unaware of the details of this and the impact, and it is important for, as Councillor McClellan noted, for the public to be aware, and that's part of this approach as well, is for you folks to have the information so that when you're talking to your constituents, you can maybe correct the record on some of this stuff.
All right. Any further discussion? Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you. I guess I have lots of experience with this. I work with farm workers, and it's very important. I don't know where we'd be without them. So I think this is great. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Finch.
Yeah, thank you. And last week I was at the Dashwood Community Center celebrating 23 temporary farm workers who had received their English as a second language certificate. So we need to continue to support all workers that are coming here and migrating here. And as I said to them, thank you for choosing Canada to come to, because it's very important, as Councillor Dietrich commented about working with them. Yeah, if we lost that, we'd be in huge trouble. So we need to completely support what Colin and these great business leaders have brought forward today.
All right, not seeing any other hands, so I'm going to just wrap up with one comment. I know staff has been taking notes as we've gone here, getting your thoughts written down. So call the motion for this to come back as a staff report. Those in favor, and that is carried. Thank you. So thank you, Colin, Dan, for your presentation, and for you business owners joining us, and we appreciate that you coming to us.
Thank you very much.
You do that.
And just to really keep our clerk happy, I would ask for a motion that we receive this report, since I neglected that. So that's Councillor Harding and Councillor Noel. Those in favor? Thank you very much.
One more time.
Councillor comments. Past Warden McNeil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And I would like to compliment the Huron County Economic Development Committee in its entirety, all of the staff involved in this department, and specifically Vicki Loss under her leadership for the Great Thrive Conference that happened last week in Blythe. I was able to attend both days, and the content of the presentations was very, very impressive. And the second day, speaking of mental health and looking out for one another. All of us need to be very, very mindful of that. So congratulations on a very well organized and attended Thrive Conference. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for those comments. Anything else from Councillor? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We do have 5 items in our consent agenda, and if there's anything specific that any councillor would like to speak to, by all means, go ahead. Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I just want to compliment or thank staff from the homes in their report that they've managed to get a couple more agency employees onto full-time employment for the county. And to me, that's a very important step forward. So I appreciate the effort that they're putting into that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that. Yes. Anything else? So if there is nothing else, then we'd be looking for a motion to receive the consent agenda. Yes, past Warden Guillen and Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. We're under item 8 on the agenda, social and property services. And we have Jamie Koskamp here to answer any questions regarding the selection of rent geared to income households and local priority rules. And Jamie, welcome to the podium. And for this report, it's if there's any questions for Jamie. And if there is not, then we'd be looking for a motion to receive this report. That's Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor, and that is carried. Moving on to the homelessness services overview, and Barb Hall is not able to join us today, so Jamie is here on last minute notice to address this one. So Jamie, when you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Warden Heffer, and through you to members of council. At the March 24th and 25th strategic planning sessions with County Council last month, housing and homelessness were identified as priority issues by council. So today's report provides an overview of the homelessness services and programs offered by the county. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing typically provides the county with an annual notional allocation to be directed to homelessness and housing services. And from this, the Social and Property Services Department has developed and implemented many services and programs designed to promote homelessness prevention, address active homelessness, and develop affordable housing. From the county's by name list of people identifying as homeless in March of 2025, 184 people are homeless and 129 have been chronically homeless for 6 months or more. Supportive housing is critical to addressing homelessness, and data indicates that supportive housing can reduce the associated costs of homelessness. As an example, social housing costs approximately $613 per month, while a shelter bed costs approximately $2,100 per month. A correctional bed is $4,300 per month, and a hospital bed is $13,500 per month. The development concept for the Gibbon Street building includes plans for 10 supportive units. So to build upon the current agreement with the Canadian Mental Health Association, the Huron Perth branch, a business case has been submitted to Ontario Health requesting evergreen funding for the necessary clinician and support workers, programs, and services for these 10 units. Within today's agenda report, the affordable housing section identifies provincial and federal funding that has been used towards the affordable housing properties the county owns and maintains, including County View in Clinton with 31 units, Bennett Street triplexes in Goderich with 4 net new units, Sanders Street in Exeter with 20 new units, and Gibbon Street here in Goderich with an additional 40 units. The use of available provincial and/or federal funds for these respective builds is based on council direction to continue sourcing external funding, including from different levels of government, to assist with offsetting development and construction costs. There are financial impacts associated with homelessness, and the 2025 county budget identifies the anticipated homelessness revenue and expenses. Revenue is anticipated at just over 1.1 million for 2025 from sources including the Provincial Homelessness Prevention Program, the Community Impact Fund from United Way, and private donations. Expenses of just over $1.7 million are estimated for 2025. So these expenses include the Homelessness Prevention Program and services, the Bridge Housing and Stability Program, and the anticipated 10-year housing and homelessness plan, as well as some staff salaries. Within the agenda report, the staff positions associated with the delivery of homelessness services are identified, along with the respective salary percentage attributed to homelessness services. The agenda report further provides detailed program information on the disbursement of the Homelessness Prevention Program notional allocation. The cost of the year-round Bridge Housing and Stability Program with CMHA is $879,383. And from this amount, the Homelessness Prevention Program funds $452,340 of the cost, while the balance of $427,043 is funded from county levy. The operation of the year-round Bridge Housing and Stability Program is critical to moving individuals experiencing homelessness along the housing continuum to stable housing. And this year-round program will continue to be required even with the opening of the 10 supportive units in Gibbon Street. Along with staff salaries, the total homelessness levy in the 2025 budget, including the year-round Bridge Housing and Stability Program, is identified as $545,818. Finally, the agenda report identifies the revenue and annual operating expenses for the Gibbon Street and Sanders Street apartment buildings, as these are new properties to the county's budget. Revenue from rent and laundry sources are identified, along with the total operating expenses and the net operating shortfall. An increase in staffing is anticipated to be required in 2026 for Sanders Street and Gibbon Street, and this is included for property management as well as maintenance. New positions will be identified and put forward in the 2026 county budget. The staffing costs for operating the 10 supportive units in the Gibbon Street will not be included in as county staff, as these staffing costs are identified in the business case to Ontario Health for supports. So I thank you for the opportunity to present the report today.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there any questions regarding this report? Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. There was a lot of information in there, a lot of numbers, and I had a hard time trying to put the whole thing together without even having a budget page in front of me. At the end of the day, I'd really just like to know what the lump sum number is for funding that we receive from other levels of government and the overall expenses, because you talked about what the cost was going to be to run certain areas, but I didn't know if we'd taken the money off of what Bruce Power is putting towards it, or what the money is that we're paying back on whatever loans we had. So I don't need a 10-page report. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for what does it cost at the end of the day from the taxpayer to subsidize these programs. For every other monies that you get in from everybody else, how much are we actually putting in through the levy? I'm just looking for that figure. Thank you.
And Past Warden McClellan, I believe our CAO Megan Work will speak to that.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden. Absolutely. We'll bring back a sheet that sets that out very clearly for County Council. The challenge from my perspective is that we can set out what is anticipated, but the sands are always shifting a little bit, for one. And two, County Council ultimately has the discretion to decide whether or not we're running the supportive housing program as well as the homelessness programs at the same time, right? And so what I, as CAO, am wanting to make sure that County Council is aware of all of the different programs that we are running. And ultimately, it's County Council's discretion to determine the level of service within that area, right? So I'm happy to put that information in front of County Council. And I'm also interested in putting that information in front of County Council ahead of the budget process, so that there is time for County Council to provide us with some feedback if they're looking for some tweaks to the levels of services. Okay.
Follow up, Past Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. There's one other thing that is always in the back of my mind. I know when we started the project here in Goderich, we talked about, we were taking the money from out of the cold, and it was going to be helping support the new build or the overall operations of it. And I certainly don't want to wait till we get to budget time, but does staff have any plan in place if in fact you get to the point where the number of units that we've got there aren't sufficient and you still end up with a number of homeless people? Is there a plan to do something, or are we going to say, no, we've sunk all of our, or put all of our eggs in this basket, and it's unfortunate? I'm just not sure how we're going to handle that in the fall.
CAO Work, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we are anticipating that there will be costs for those who are not going to be in the supportive housing building, because there are those who are not going to want to participate. And there will be costs associated with that. Those numbers are outlined in the report from Barb, but we will do what we can to further pull that out to make it really clear to County Council what the costs are associated with that. I think from what Jamie was saying, it's about $500,000 for the homelessness supports, similar to what we have been running for those who are on the streets, who are not interested in participated in the supportive housing program, as well as an additional 400 for Gibbons. Okay, so that's we will bring a further report back to County Council and make that abundantly clear. Okay, thank you.
All right, Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Yeah, these numbers, and I concur with the question you started, but I thought I heard say a number of times, these numbers are already costed and we have them in our report. And I guess my report is just is words here. There's no page showing the numbers. I heard just a minute ago, yes, we have those costs and we'll make them clear. Well, did I miss the page where you guys got all these numbers? Because I didn't get any page with numbers. And I'm hearing now we're going to get another page and it's going to be clearer. I think back. So did I miss a page? That's my first question.
CEO work, please.
Yeah, through you, Warden Heffer. Again, there are shifting sands according to the funding that we receive from other levels of government for these programs. For one. Second is there is a lot of narrative in this report, and Barb is not here to be able to speak to some of the details. And so my preference is, rather than Jamie and I trying to shoulder this for County Council, is that I'm hearing that you would prefer to have it in a bit of a different format. This is just for information purposes at this time. So we are more than happy to bring a report back to you in a bit of a different format with that information.
If I may
Follow up, yes.
I just was pointed out that I am missing a page that I didn't see. So that's all I was asking, because the person up here was explaining and kept referring back to, you see the numbers. So that was the issue and I missed it. At the end of the day, they're there. I still concur that we do need them a little simpler. I do recall back when we were talking about Gibbons, there was an operating cost, and the operating cost was always talked about $1 million was going to cost to run Gibbons. Then there was always talk about 800,000 that we're already getting, combination of things. And the question always did go, well, is the 800 going to the 1 million? And and clearly, we still need, a few of us anyway, need to get that understood. Yes, the sands are shifting. We get that. The good news is, I guess what I heard today is we've made applications to the province to get more money, and that's a good thing. Unfortunately, last year they didn't put any new money in. We just had an election provincially, and I didn't get to the all candidates meetings, but I don't recall a lot of people yelling and screaming, we need more money for these programs, but the election's over and we'll see where it goes. So that's a good thing. But yes, it's got to just be simpler. What is we getting from the 3 levels and what do we need different? And that shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for those comments. Any others? All right. Jamie, thanks for filling in last minute. And I know that's always difficult, but appreciate that you did that. And what I'd be looking for now then is that we would be receiving this presentation for information. And that's Past Warden McNeil and Past Warden McClellan would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Jamie. We're going to move on to emergency services, and there's been a report by Jeff Horseman on the Seaforth Paramedic Base, and Jeff is available for questions if you would have any at this time. Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I do appreciate some comments in this base where we've had previous reports talking about the fact that we will have to at some point increase the number of ambulances that we have in the county, which I'm assuming also means that we have to increase staffing levels. And the talk about building something that you can put the entire management staff for the EMS service in one location and run it out of there and possibly have a couple extra bays for those future expansions without having to do piecemeal add-ons after the fact, that planning makes good sense to me. Wasn't as sold on the whole gym idea, things like that. At this point, I'm more than happy to invest in things that are needed for the public's benefit, and running an efficient EMS system is. I would consider at this point the gym concept to be more of a luxury and not something that the overall taxpayer might be interested in supporting. But other than that portion of it, there was good merit in the comments about planning for the future and having it here when we need it. So I agreed with the rest of it, but I don't know what the next steps are going forward at this point.
Well, I think the prepared motion kind of gives an indication of that, Past Warden, that I think staff's just looking for the ability to start some discussions with other partners at this point. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Warden. I just have some concerns about the size of this building. because there are a lot of people, management still working from home. So do we need to have it that big? And the community paramedicine program is currently 100% funded through the province. But what happens if the province decides it is no longer going to fund that program? Are we going to continue with that program? So do we need to build a spot to accommodate them? Or if we are building in Seaforth, could the community paramedicine program not be run out of the Tucker Smith station instead? Just because we currently own the Tucker Smith station and there is land there. So that would be a cost savings in my thoughts.
And CA Work will respond to that.
Yeah, thanks so much. I never talk this much. It's a special day. So the purpose of this report coming in front of County Council today is really just to initiate the conversation with Huron East. The components, I was talking to the warden about it yesterday. There is absolutely no sense that the components that are outlined in this report are set in stone. All of that information has to be worked out along with County Council. This is, again, we want to have the opportunity to have a conversation with Seaforth and a ballpark estimate of what County Council, the appetite that County Council has for a new build. The scale of that build has yet to be determined, and all of that has to come back to County Council for consideration. And if there are potential opportunities for us to use the Tucker Smith base or whatever the case may be, that will be determined in the future as well. But truly, I, as CAO, didn't feel comfortable with Jeff having a conversation with Huron East if County Council had no appetite for the build to happen in the first place, any build to happen in the first place. So that's sort of the intention of this report coming in front of County Council today.
Councillor Klopp, please.
Yeah, thank you. And that's fair. It's coming here. There's one question is approximate timeline for a new build. And yes, it's going to come back to whatever council, depends on timelines. But with the issue of looking at, and I realize they threw everything in, it's great to think at high level, but just for the idea of a gym workout facility, I think that's a no-go. I actually voted for something like this for a company that I'm involved with. And we sat around that room as a board and said, okay, they want that. And boy, we passed it. And 2 years later, one of the councilors, one of the board members asked, how many people are using that? And it's now storing telephones. Great idea. Everybody likes it when somebody else is paying for it. So burnt once, I know it just sounds good. We spend a lot of money in every one of our lower tiers that have walks around their arenas, gyms. That's where you go. How about our staff go out and help pay for those buildings? They're there. Brussels just put up a cement money. I know in Clinton, we have a wonderful walk around. When I first saw that, I said, nobody would use that. And then someone nudged, watch Goderich when you play hockey, how many people use it. So we're not saying no for gyms, but let's prioritize it's ambulances, and we spend money in other areas. So don't waste time putting that in. And if I need a motion to find out where I'm at, I'll do that if you need it.
I think the sentiment's pretty clear at this point, Councillor Klopp. So pass Warden McClellan.
Just to help County Council out, if it was going to be a joint operation with Huron East, I suspect the desire of Huron East would come back that we would want something within a 1 to 2 year period to be happening just because of our circumstance. If the county is going to do it on their own, they can do it on whatever timeline they want if it's not a joint operation where we're building as part of the structure. And if I could just respond to one other thing, Councillor Anderson had asked the question about the paramedic program or the paramedicine. I brought the same thing up during the strategic planning, but I am aware of the fact that the county paid for the service before the province decided it was their responsibility to pay for the service because we recognized there was a benefit to it. And I had the exact same question. If the province ever pulled back, I'm going to say the one advantage we have at this point is that the province picked up the tab going down the road because they realized how much money they were saving from hospitals and other services that they had to provide. It was actually a net plus for them to provide the community paramedicine program. So I'm hoping that that fact alone will keep them running this, because it's more advantageous for them from a financial standpoint to run this rather than having everybody showing up at the hospital. Thank you.
Past Warden again, please.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want county council to lose sight of the fact that the relationship that EMS and Central Huron have had with our building has been a very fruitful one for both parties. And I think that bodes very well with taxpayers when they see us working together and sharing services. So let's not lose sight of that. And I'm certainly supportive of opening talks with Huron East to see if we can find another great, really good relationship.
Good. Councillor Besnet.
Through you, Mr. Warden, the conversations regarding the gym, the addition of the gym, I guess for me, I would like to know the costing of it. And a question for Mr. Horseman as well is it necessary to have a gym? I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm not sure of the shifts that the employees work, if they're there day and night, day and night, day and night for several days or nights, because there is a mental health aspect of this. And if they can't leave the bay and go home or go to a fitness facility, a different fitness facility, then what message are we sending to the staff there? We talk about mental health quite a bit. Even this morning, it's been mentioned several times. So that would be my concern. I understand it from a fiscal responsibility, but I also need to understand, I had the opportunity of touring the Coast Guard facility down at our waterfront several months ago. And those gentlemen, those employees, men and women, cannot leave that facility for 14 days. So they need something like that. So Mr. Horseman, if I can, ask that question of a necessity point of view for these staff, please. What's your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Certainly through you, through you to Councillor Bazinet. Our staff currently work 12-hour shifts. So they do have a 12-hour period in between their shifts that they do leave the building. The only reason that this was added was this option was added is it's becoming very common throughout paramedic builds, paramedic-based builds with the upper tier municipalities to include a workout facility for their employees. Most upper tier municipalities open that up as a workout facility to their entire county staff. So it's not limited to the paramedics. Our neighbors to the north recently did this. It was a suggestion that was open for us as a consideration. As CEO Work said, we put this in the report as a consideration, a talking point. By no stretch of imagination would I would suggest that this 100% needed to be included in the building. It was just an option for us to look at to consider when we're building.
And I would suggest to move this along that maybe we're getting a little caught up in details that can be ironed out later. I think the key to this is starting the discussions and giving staff to go ahead to get on that. Councilor Past Warden McClellan, you gave some timeline there, and I think that just makes it even more clear. Now's the time to start talking. So with that, I'm going to ask if there's anybody willing to put forward the motion that's recommended. So Past Warden McClellan, Past Warden Ginn would second that. Those in favor, and that is carried. We're on to Public Works. We have some tender results, and Wyatt Carey is here to answer questions if there is anything on the guide rail replacements. Is there any questions on this one? And if not, there's a fairly lengthy motion that goes with this one. Is there anybody willing to put that forward? And that's Councillor McClelland, seconded by Councillor Vanstone. Those in favor? And that is carried. Another tender award, and Will Williams is here to answer questions on this one regarding replacement of structure 1411.7 and 1414.3. Any discussion? someone willing to put that motion forward? And that's Councillor Finch, second by past Warden McNeil. Those in favor? And that is carried. And a detailed design for the replacement of 4 culverts. And Will Williams is here to answer questions regarding that, if there is any. And if not, I'd be looking for some direction. And that is Councillor Becker and Councillor Dietrich would second the prepared motion of that. Those in favor? And that is carried. And bridge, deck and patching and asphalt work. Again, Wyatt Carey is with us for any questions on this. And if there is none, you know the process by now. Councillor Finch and Councillor Anderson, those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. Under administration policies and other issues, we are looking at our presentation by Megan Wark on the service delivery options, and Megan is here to answer any questions if you have any on that. Seeing none, then I'd be looking for a motion to receive this report. That's Councillor Heffer, seconded by Councillor Klopp. And go ahead with your question.
Thank you. And second, yeah, the report is covers the areas, as we said, we were going to, see it at a high level. And I don't expect the answers today, but I do find some of the, just to make a few comments. And if you have an answer now, and if not, you can get it later or whatever. But when we talk about the model and its team approach and work together, I just make a comment on that. Not when I was on council, lower tier, but we seem to have a lot of work going on. And the argument was made that you have to get your own help. That you have one planner and we shouldn't be subsidizing others to help you. So the council today went ahead and hired a planner, and keep in mind that we're running about $126,000 this year. It's not covering the costs. We get about $15,000 in return. So I find that to be an interesting thing. Maybe we don't need to have that person if what I'm hearing now is we share. When it comes to some of the discussion too, as we go into this, and it leaves the impression to me that, if we don't have the staff working together, we're going to lose staff. And I understand that when I understand this point, maybe I'm wrong, a planner goes and gets educated, and when they come in, they hit the ground running. Of course, they're going to gain experience. But I just bring out something that in this day and age, our treasurers all talk to each other, and yet they're alone in blue water. The issue of we're looking still at a $1.7 million cost overrun, and ranging from Howick at $89,000 on their taxes this year to ourselves in blue water at $326,000. Just the other day when I had a ratepayer that's making an application for a zoning, and when it was $4,080, $80, sorry. And I said, yeah, and that doesn't even cover the cost, about 25%. And they made the comment to me, you mean I still have to pay in my taxes plus my neighbors? And I said, yes. He's just wondered as a business point of view. So, and as I roll through this a little bit more too, when the assumption, I'd like, I guess, a clarification for later. It says at one point on the cost side that, well, yes, my motion did say, and seconded by my counselor to my right here, but that was a planner manager. Again, I'm working on the assumption, as we saw in the reports earlier or later, the range is 80 to 90 for depending on quality. So again, that it also makes the assumption that we all have to hire 9. I just point out that we could hire, people could share. I would like to know what the 2 long planning projects per year that and that costing was the department's complete 2 long range planning. Could I have some clarification on that? and also the countywide planning application system. Is that iCloud referring to? And what, if it is, or if it is something else, I'd like to know. But it says it's about 80,000. I think I looked, it's probably a little more than that this year. But again, that's about $10,000 each at your local level. Just a thought. And then finally, just another little thing to think about. When we talk about, there was this issue here about that we'd still have to have planning staff and services. Now, again, as you probably all know, and this kind of twigged me why I kind of thought about this, the government of Ontario actually mandated that planning isn't at the regional government of 2, I think, one fairly close at Halton Hills, well, wherever Oakville's in anyway. And just the preliminary that I read on that, and obviously I'd like if someone could confirm, but it looked like they pretty well drove everything down to the local level. So I just pointed that out to you. But it says here that if we do have to keep staff, it says that it'd be about $1 million. So I guess I'd like to know what those $1 million makes up. And the reason I say that is I wanted to be clear, and the motion was fairly clear. This was the planning side only, because it refers into here, we still have other costs. And those things, I assume when it talked about environment and forestry, that is the forest conservation. That was not included in our motion. That net costing about $354,000, we still would have that at the county level. Actually, EV charges are costing us $1,157. I noticed that when I went a little further. And of course, the water source at $421,000. Those were not included. So I just wonder if the 1 million, what that includes at some point, what that makes up. And anyway, and again, I thank staff for giving us something to look at. And I hope the motion passes for information. But I also, I think we should still be looking at how we can better run the business. It's not about the staff issue. The staff are doing a great job. They're supposed to. It's planning, period. It's about how we run the company. No different than at our farm. I've got part of about 14 or probably more than that employees. But at the end of the day, if we're losing $1.7 million, something's got to happen. And I think the fact that the province of Ontario has already done something last election or previous election with 2 municipalities, I think it's behooves us to not just say it's nothing we can do about it. But I thank you for your time.
All right, Councillor Klopp, a lot of comments in there, a few questions, and I certainly wouldn't expect staff to be able to answer those on the spot, but I will turn it over to Megan if there's any comment you would like to make.
Yeah, so a couple of things. You talked about special projects, things like local official plans, for example. And yes, the $80,000 is for the cloud software that all of our municipalities are participating in, as well as special projects like the aggregate strategy. I would say to County Council that if Council is interested in additional information than what is in front of you today, I would ask for a motion from County Council on this. We did our best to include comprehensive information in this report, and otherwise, I'm not sure what else we could provide to you. Thank you.
Past Warden McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. When we did the budget, I was a little surprised at how much was user pay, but I've asked a lot of questions since then, and I understand better what goes into it and why there's a need, in my opinion now, to keep the staff together. And I understand what Councillor Klopp's pointing out with the fact that if you got a planner in your municipality, that they can basically take care of the work that you're doing there. But I think there's so much merit in the fact that whether it's when doing official plans or looking at something on a particular property, that I realize it's not as much as just cut and paste to have the same documentation, but the fact that you can converse with someone who's been through a similar situation can really speed up the process and hopefully keep the rules and regulations consistent across the county. I think there's merit to that in itself. That's probably one of our best avenues, is to keep those rules consistent. Now, if there was a request for a motion, my motion at this time would only be, could we get a report that talks about the actual costs that we charge for the services we provide, that are the user pay, compared to municipalities around us, counties around us, and to see if our pricing is consistent, because I wonder if there is still a way to shift a little bit of that to the people that are actually purchasing work from us on a regular basis. The unfortunate part is sometimes someone will come in, have some requests of staff do some work, but because they don't go ahead with something, they didn't pay anything. And that's unfortunate. But the people that actually do development, we don't really have what you would call development charges in Huron County compared to what other areas do. And upping some of these planning costs would help alleviate a little bit of the burden from the overall county levy. And the people that are expanding would be paying that portion. But I'm not sure that that would be an outrageous move to increase those fees a little bit. So I'm not sure how to shorten the request, Mr. Warden, but just really a comparison to our charges compared to counties around us, I think, is probably the simplest way to phrase it.
And CAO Org will respond to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. More than happy to bring that information back to County Council. I would just caution that, I think after the last strategic priority setting, we did take a look at some of our user fees and we changed them. And it turned out to be a difficult conversation to have with some of our municipalities, and it may have resulted in where we are here today, having a conversation with issues with the kinds of dollars that we are requesting in order to pay for our services. So I would just caution about increasing those again so soon. And I think Director Weber may have some additional thoughts that she may also want to provide.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you. Through you, Warden Heffer. We did do a full review of our planning application fees last year. We did a comparison to neighboring counties to sort of see where we sat with our fees. We had a committee that had representatives from each of the local municipalities sit on that committee. So where we landed with the new fees was sort of in the middle range. We weren't the highest fees, we weren't the lowest fees, but the fees that we set were in the middle range. So we did do that comparison, and that was brought forth to County Council, and the new fees took effect August the 1st. So we have done a fairly recent review of that and sort of feel like our fees, because we've just recently, so we've only had, 8 months of using those new fees, but we do feel like in comparison to other counties, we're fairly in line in the middle range with those fees. And in addition, I can just clarify to Councillor Klopp's question, the long-range projects that the department is working on this year is the county official plan update with the PPS conformity exercise. Central Huron, we're doing a 5-year review in their municipality and hoping to get that completed soon. And just starting into Blue Water official plan 5-year review is starting this year as well.
Okay. Follow up, Councillor Klopp.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. If staff have already done all this work and County Council has seen it within the last year, I apologize, maybe I missed that meeting, but I don't have a need for us to review it if it's been less than a year since we've done this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Klopp.
Yeah, I just a thought for a motion. It's because we did the review. And part of actually why I supported the review last time was I was also not just thinking on how can we reduce the operation, and my fault for not having that clarified in the motion. But so I think the motion for direction would be that we ask the staff to look at options and how we reduce the operation of the system to reduce cost. And I say that because the CEO brought up our council was really balking, and I actually, we voted that, and that's why I moved ahead, because if my council did support the idea of looking, what's the point of going forward? But anyway, that said, our manager was there at the meeting, and that was great that they took it so seriously, because they sure didn't have to be there at the meeting. But one of the comments of our council was, well, just put the rates up. You know, because we had one that's 18,000 a year for, or 18,000 for an application in one place. And a legitimate discussion came among us that there's a trade-off between, you have to have a charge because you can't do anything for free. We're under an act, but at the same time, there's economic benefit. So we're running we're about 30%, you know, so to put the rates up to cover 1.7, well, we're just not going to get, you know, the only people who are going to build is the poor farmer that can't move his farm. And I guess the construction guy that needs to have some work, but we sure would have the sucking up of every place going to every other municipality. So I think, and we did the review, and the point is the costs are about high. The guy that was told $4,080, he wasn't thinking, wow, this is cheap for what he's asking. So, but the reality of it is, so I just throw that out to you. I think we need to look at how we can get this, how the staff can look at how to take what we got and try to make, you know, the penny spread out more. So that's my idea of a motion. And if I may, on the 5-year reviews, I go back to the 1988 year when I first was honored to be on local council. And we had to put in the budget that year to do the 5-year review. Now, you're going to laugh at this. I think it was $3,000, but the wages of your counselor was $6,000, and this was just one line item. And what was it? It was about, and it hasn't really changed much. You have the local meetings, you have the arena. I realized donuts back then were $1.50 a dozen instead of $1.50 each. But at the same time, those were things that were actually done at the local level. And it was a line item. So I throw that out to you.
Okay, so Councillor Clot, we do have a motion on the floor, and I'm going to address that motion. If you would like a follow-up later, you're welcome to do that, but I'm going to address the motion that we have on the floor, and that is to receive this for information. And no, the motion's on the floor, so those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So I'm not, is there a follow-up or not?
Well, in fairness, maybe we just want to think about it a bit more.
That's a good idea.
But I can bring it up at another meeting.
All right, thank you.
Or other counselors may, in fairness to the clerk too. Okay.
All right, something to think on. Strategic priority setting report, and Megan is here to present this report. So Megan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair, just a summary of the discussion and the priority items that were identified through the priority setting workshop that we had over 2 days in the month of March. The proposed action items are set out underneath each of the priority areas. And just in terms of what this looks like on a go-forward basis at this point, those within your agenda package every month, there's a bit of a spreadsheet that indicates what each of the departments are working on. These priority items will become embedded within that spreadsheet so that County Council will have an opportunity to monitor the projects that we are working on. SMT, we've already met a couple of times to discuss what that's going to look like and develop a bit of a strategy on who's going to be leading and some timelines associated with those. But certainly happy to answer any questions that County Council may have on this document. And yeah, look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Yes, at the 24th and 25th, I recall we had a number of charts we went up and voted on and picked. And at the very end, there was, I believe, 6 priorities or 8 that were on and the council voted. And 2 of them, so don't get me on the math here, but there was 2 that had no votes. And which were the 2 that had no votes on that chart that day? Were any of these, I believe housing didn't have any council
Yeah,
voted.
so through you,
What
Mr.
was the other one?
Warden,
Do you
there
know?
was a discussion that day about the need to ensure that some of the items that are already in the queue through the last 2 years that council has been working on, that we haven't wrapped them up yet. So one of those items, for example, we talked a little bit about housing and homelessness and the work that has been going on, and the need, the staff just is going to need to be bringing that information back to county council on a regular basis. So that information was included, as well as making the staff workforce a priority for county council as a result of the fact that it is over 50% of the operating budget of the corporation of the county of Huron. At that time, it was discussed in the meeting. There was good feedback from county council that they were okay with that. And as a result of that, we came up with this list of 8 items that is in front of county council, and action items have been identified, and we're looking to move forward in collaboration with county council on those.
Follow up, Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm a stickler for how we were told to run the meeting. And the meeting was, you guys, you colleagues, you vote, and the ones that have the votes will be our priority. But clearly, everything else that runs in the county is still got to be dealt with. So at that point, the comments were made. But, and I think everybody realized that it doesn't mean that we stop what we're started. We don't have a priority on here about a lot of the business of the county, but it still has to be done, and it still comes to council. We're just dealing with the priority of the ambulance. Because it wasn't on here, does that mean we stopped the ambulance discussion? Well, of course not. It's about, again, it doesn't need to be on a priority list to be important. And I guess because the council did say by voting that the 4 or 5 that were actually voted should be the priority. If we have priority, I get a little bit worried about some of this priority stuff at the best of times, but that was how it was done. I'm not supporting a motion that says, oh no, it was a priority, because that just on the face of it is not true. So I guess I have to say no. Does that mean that housing isn't an issue? Well, of course not. Does that mean the ambulance issue is no longer an issue, or the library isn't no longer an issue? Well, of course not. But I can in good conscience support when the reality was there was 4 or 5 that actually got votes and the other 2 weren't. And that's how it goes. And so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, your comments are noted. And what I will do now is go back to asking if we would receive this report. That's past Warden McNeil, Councillor Finch would, those in favor, and that is carried. And I'll just make note of the handouts that we've all had, and a suggestion is if you had this with you when we're having council discussions, and it's just a really good opportunity when we're having discussions to glance over that list and see just if we're aligning and the direction that we're going will help us make better decisions. Items of correspondence. Is there anything specific on that list anybody wants to address? And if not, then I'd be looking for motion to receive them for information. Councillor Harding would make that motion. Councillor Vanstone seconds that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any notice of motion? Seeing none, we do have some bylaws in front of us, and I would like to have a mover and a seconder for the 6 presented bylaws to give them first, second, third, and final readings. That's Councillor Goderich. Councillor McClellan seconds that. Those in favor? And that is carried. There is no close to the public session, but we do have some upcoming meetings, and our upcoming Municipal Officers Association meeting on Friday, and CAO Work would like to speak to this meeting coming up.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden, just to let, if you are a head of council, we are going to be asking you to introduce all of the members of staff and members of council who are at the day.
Okay.
The second thing that I just want to say is to offer my heartfelt congratulations to Dana Meller, who has just accepted the position of director of the homes on a permanent basis. I'm so proud of you, Dana. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate all the support through this journey that I've had through the county. This is my home and this is where my heart is. So thank you.
Congratulations, Dana. Welcome. So, all right. So the list is there for you to be on top of any other meetings that are coming up and make yourself aware of those. And I'd be looking for confirmatory bylaw. Past Warden Guillen and Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Would anybody like to adjourn our meeting? Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Heffer, imagine that. Anybody opposed to adjourning? That is carried.